Hello all, I hope you're all well. The world has started turning again and we're all trying to navigate our way through this so-called new normal. One area that I know many of you were very keen to get back to was beauty. Whether that was getting to the hair salon, visiting the brow bar, or making an appointment with a facialist or skin specialist, just having the opportunity to feel revived and rejuvenated has been a very welcome gift for lots of you. I know I've definitely noticed more lines and wrinkles over the last few months, and so I'm thrilled to be joined today by one of the leading voices in aesthetic medicine, Dr Ejikeme. So sit back, relax, and get ready to join in with our conversation. Dr Ejikeme, hello!
Hello, and thank you so much for having me on, Natalie. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, Dr Ejikeme, you are the Medical Director at Adonia Medical Clinic in West London, which was voted the best clinic in London in 2019. You're a key opinion leader for global brands such as Aquagold, Abaji and Ultraformer, and have more recently spoken in the wider press about the need for more education and representation of black skin in the beauty industry. This is an area I'm very interested to talk to you about. However, I would first like to start off by asking, how have the last few months been for you at Adonia and for you as a doctor?
Wow, the last few months have been really insane, Natalie. I don't know what to say about it. Well, first of all, with coronavirus, I was pregnant.
Oh my goodness!
and the clinic as well. So yes, I also did a corona lockdown delivery as well. We can talk about that one later.
Oh my God.
Which was insane, but we're all safe.
Yeah, when you do add it all to the mix, I mean, were you worried at all during that time? And obviously you're a doctor, but were you frightened?
Of course. At that time, think about back in February, what was happening in February. We didn't really know what coronavirus was. We had these scare stories from China and Singapore, but we, in the UK, we didn't really know what it was. So initially I just continued like everybody else. And then at some point my obstetrician said, go home, just go home and stop working. And to be honest, I've kind of had the view that I'm healthy, I'm well, there's no real extra risk that pregnant women have, so just keep a positive mindset and you'll be fine. And I was really fine. It was more the fear of the unknown, going into hospital at that point in time. That's the one place that I think nobody wanted to be. But when I went there, I was surprised at how calm it was. In the midwifery department, everybody was gowned up, gloved up, in spacesuits basically. And it was a really smooth, it was a smooth transition. It was a smooth birth, and we both came home, and it was great. So if anyone is going through that period right now, you will be fine. You'll be fine. I've spoken to lots of women now who are pregnant in this time and think, everybody wants to have a home birth right now. Everybody does. But no, the hospitals really are fine now. They are really prepared for this. Nobody came into my room without a mask. Everyone was washing, rewashing, hand sanitizing, and I actually felt super safe once I was there. So it's just the thought of going into hospital at this point, but it's fine.
You're a doctor, and for you to feel nervous at the beginning, it's no wonder that everyone else was feeling quite terrified. But that reassurance that you've just, how you've just explained it, and how what a safe environment it felt for you and for your baby as well, for a little baby, and just being able to not have that, that overwhelming stress, because that's the last thing you need, especially in the later stages of pregnancy. I mean, that must be, it gives us great pleasure to hear that, doesn't it, about how amazing our NHS really are.
Amazing. I really have to say amazing. Since then, 2 of my friends have gone in and had similar experiences. People worry about your partners being able to come in. They can now, which is great. And you go in and, you want to get home as soon as possible, just like before. This is my 3rd baby. So, you want to go home and get back to the rest of the family, and you can. And, it was super safe. It was really safe. And I think the anxiety kind of gets you up. But then when you really think about, I'm going in to have a baby, I'm well, and everybody there is well. So you'll be fine.
And how are you now, like in this period of time? Are you still at home, or are you venturing back towards the clinic yet? I mean, where are you right now?
So right now, from a clinic standpoint, we have reopened, but end of March, the doors closed. When
Mm,
everybody locked down, the doors closed, and from a business standpoint, it's scary. It's scary when you have to close your doors. You need to, we have to, and so we did. We closed your doors and we changed the way we work. So the clinic ordinarily offers things like botulinum toxin, Botox for lines and wrinkles, dermal fillers, laser hair removal, facials, peels, body treatments, hair loss treatments, acne, melasma, the works. And all of those are face-to-face
yeah.
treatments. Um, so there's nothing, it's not an automatic, let's move virtual, but we changed what we did and we moved into virtual consultations. And it was amazing because we didn't have any experience in virtual consultations, but when we started that, we saw how patients really, really love this because you're sat at home, you're on Zoom every day or Skype every day. All you do is look at your skin in a way that you never have done before. And you see things. You notice your acne, you notice your pigmentation, and you want help with it. So it was fantastic to be able to help a lot of people deal with what was going on with their skin. Stress shows on your face, and it was great to be able to help with that.
I mean, as you say, in terms of from a Capsule point of view, I talk about it quite a lot, how your skin or just the way you look can really affect your mental health massively. And if you are stuck at home, confronted with yourself, and particularly if you were solo isolating and you're just stuck with your own image, you can start to see yourself in a very different way. And so to be able to have a chat with somebody and know that if you were something that you're unhappy with, that somebody could be able to help you with and to talk it out, it must have been really lovely for your patients as well, to have that communication with you, as a person to speak to.
Completely, 100%. I can think of a couple of consultations where it was really just a chat. It was a check-in and a chat.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing? How are you feeling? You're home alone. Who have you chatted to today? And the skin part was actually a smaller part of the conversation because what was materializing on the skin was a manifestation of lonely sphere, being afraid, being lonely, and having really no outlets. So actually, there are a couple of people that we just checked in every week for the skin, but also just to see how they're doing, because our patients become kind of friends after years of treating people. You kind of want to know what's going on in their lives as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, are you seeing patients and clients return now? Are you seeing that people want to get back, or are they still a little wary considering that the treatments that you give are in such close proximity?
So I would say it's a mix. It's a mix between some patients that we're saying we don't want to see yet, we shouldn't be seeing yet.
Mm-hmm.
So our patients who are over the age of 65, we're saying let's just delay it for a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
And our patients that have multiple other medical problems, we're also saying that you should just wait a little bit longer before you venture out. And that's just our protocols, because I just feel that if it's possible, this is not a life-saving treatment, and there's something out there that is very dangerous. So I've said for that group of people, hold off for now.
Yeah.
Outside that group, I'd say people are really, really, really wanting to get their treatments back. We've had a waiting list for a long time, and so we've had a group of people that we said that once we're able to safely see you, we'll contact you. And so we've done a staged opening where we put all our PPE and all our safety protocols in right at the beginning. The clinic we are an aesthetic clinic, but we're also a medical clinic. So we are CQC registered, which means we're held to the same standards as hospitals in terms of infection control. So there's a lot of stuff that we've had to put in place. So the additional stuff from COVID hasn't been a huge jump for us. So we put them in quite quickly. And with that in place, our patients know and they feel safe. So I think if you feel really safe and you know where you're going to take all these extra precautions, then you're more likely to want to have these treatments.
Yeah, I mean, and in terms of the treatment, are people coming to you with different things? Have people changed the perception of themselves? You know, embraced maybe more of a natural look or a different look during lockdown? Has their perceptions of themselves changed at all?
I would say they have actually. I would say that conditions like acne and pigmentation have become much higher on people's list of I really want to fix this.
Hmm.
The same person who's had intermittent acne for years now, after looking at themselves in isolation for such a long time, has said, you know what, that's the thing I really want to get fixed and have my skin more clear. Also because people aren't wearing makeup as much.
Yeah.
So you're really seeing your bare skin. And usually, how long do you see your bare skin? You wake up in the morning, you wash your face, that's it, brush your teeth, makeup goes on, you go out into the world, and then you come back, brush your teeth, you see your face again. That's
Yeah.
it. And all of a sudden, you're looking at your face throughout the day, multiple times through the day. So having that makeup free, clear skin, even skin tone is more important for a lot of my clients and patients now.
I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? To think that this whole period of time has kind of really, I suppose, in a way, allowed people to see themselves. Do you know what I mean? To actually kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
not. Some people are so afraid of seeing themselves, aren't they? And so afraid of looking in the mirror. And I think this time has kind of, in some respects, probably been good for some people as well to actually, maybe think, actually, I'm not that bad, kind of give people a little more
Yes.
confidence.
Yes. And I think that's really true. I know for myself, this is probably the longest period of time that I've worn no makeup. Yes, I wear a bit of lipstick. That's got to stay. but but the longest period of time that having bare skin and actually looking at my own skin and giving myself a bit of a break, that I've got a breakout, got a bit of pigmentation, it's okay. It's okay. It's going to come, it's going to go, and just giving yourself a bit of a break, I think, is great, because there's so much else going on. The last thing you want to do is to add even more pressure on yourself.
Oh God, absolutely. I mean, as I said at the very beginning of our chat, one of the things I was really, really keen to talk to you about was your opinion on the representation of black skin in the beauty industry, or from what I've read from your findings, the absolute lack of it. I mean, as we continue to keep the spotlight on the Black Lives Matter movement, I personally found it so alarming that after all your years of practicing, when I was reading all your notes, you'd said how you'd only attended like a handful of conferences that were focused on black skin compared to thousands that were focused on Caucasian skin. I mean, just tell me a little bit more about your experience of this.
So actually, I've only ever been to one conference that was focused on black skin,
Oh
and
my
that's not for
God.
lack of trying or looking for it. So every year, I pretty much sign up to all the aesthetic conferences that are available in London, and the biggest ones are available in London. I won't go through their names, but these are the ones that people flying from all over the world to come to.
Hmm.
They're very well attended, so I'm talking thousands of delegates from around the world. So these are the biggest aesthetic conferences, and they're learning opportunities.
Yeah.
So they're there for doctors to showcase the unusual. It's there for us to learn. And just to give you a snapshot of what it looks like, there'll be 4 days, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., multiple rooms, fully booked with different talks on different things. So we're talking, maybe 50 or 60 different talks. Now, in the last 2 years, when I look through those talks, there's probably two. In each of these comments, there'll be two talks, one or two talks that's focused on people of color, treating people of color. So again, that people of color is such a nebulous term that means so many different things to
Yeah.
different people. If you think about a Japanese woman, an Indian woman, and myself, how similar our skin are, so different, but we're all lumped into people of color, and how we can assess and understand those different skin types in a 20-minute talks, it's not going to happen. So that's the reality of the educational outlets. And then you have that on the background of having multiple talks about botulinum toxin, dermal fillers, threads, all the different elements. And I just think, wouldn't it be great if we had talks where we have talking about dermal filler on all the different skin types, talking about threads on all the different skin types? That would be great, not just for consumers and for clients, but for also the doctors who are there absorbing that information. So it's multi-leveled. It's multi-levels, and it it doesn't feel great when you're sat in a theater with 200 of your peers and there's a picture up and they say verbatim, this is the aesthetic ideal, and it's got Angelina Jolie, and we have to aspire to this aesthetic ideal. She is beautiful. She really is. She's absolutely gorgeous. But I'm never going to look like Angelina Jolie. And so it's important that there are realistic aesthetic ideals for lots of different types of people.
I mean, I find that completely astounding. This is my naivety, because I would have thought that was a given, that to be in the profession that you're in, that it would be part of the education to learn about all those different skin types that you mentioned, because at some point or another you're most likely going to come into contact with somebody of a different skin color, and you should know how to kind of look after them as a patient. So for me, I find that really alarming, I suppose. That's the only word, that if you think of a whole side of an industry just dedicated to one particular skin type or look, that is really alienating so many people. It's I find that very alarming.
Yes, that's the reality of where we have been, and that's really why I think it's time to change the conversation, because it's multi-layered. The person who's doing that presentation has created case studies of their practice, and also they're showcasing what they think the majority of the room want to see. So they'll pick cases that they'll think are appropriate. If we're talking about case studies in the media, the paper will pick case studies that they think will sell. So they'll pick case studies that they think people want to see. So there's multiple different areas that need to be looked at in order to kind of resolve this issue. And then that trickles down to actually the education, actually educating doctors and having case studies that are representative of the UK, of lots of different skin types. So when we're teaching doctors, we don't just teach them, if you have a cut, your skin goes red. My skin goes red, but my dad's a bit darker than me. His skin never goes red. So what happens when he has an injury, or what happens to his skin? It looks different. There's different signs that you'll need to look for. But to be very honest, in medical school and in the educational settings, we don't have that attention to detail to say, okay, in this skin type, this is what will happen. In this skin type, this is what will happen. So the reality of what happens in practice is, if you see lots of skin types, darker skin types, the first few people you see will be a bit of an experiment, because you've never seen it before. And then later on, you'll get better and better and better at it. So that's extremely scary, but that is the reality of what will happen if you don't have the education in all the different skin types.
I mean, again, when I was reading your notes, it seems to me that it's almost like doctors are almost kind of put off learning about black skin, because it's difficult skin to treat, or it's hard, or well, we shouldn't do that. From reading, I was like, well, from the off, people seem to be put off from actually going down that road. And I mean, how does that make you feel?
So I think I don't blame doctors for feeling that. I don't blame them. I think it's education. If you don't know how to do something, then it's scary. If I told somebody, okay, we're going to go and perform brain surgery, I'd say absolutely not.
Yeah.
Outside my skill set. So if you don't have the tools to do it, then you're not going to be able to, and it is going to feel hard. It is going to feel difficult. But the thing that's so bizarre is that the difference between treating Caucasian skin, for example, and treating black skin, for example, there's not that much difference. It's just tweaking things a little bit. But if you don't know how to tweak those things, then it just seems really hard and it's difficult, and I don't want to do it. So it's education. It's really educating people to understand, here's a device that you can use. If you buy this device, you can use it only on Caucasian skin. But if you buy this device in ND-YAG, you can use it on everybody's skin.
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't you buy the other device?
Well, this is what I mean. I feel like there's a whole other area of, if you want to get really, skeptical, cynical about it, in terms of even marketing or commerce, there's a whole other landscape that you could, be tapping into. Why would you only offer one kind of quite narrow product? It baffles me that they don't want to, or they seem quite reluctant to offer alternatives or to investigate in alternatives. Is that frustrating for you?
I think it's really lack of knowledge. If you don't think. So we recently did a survey. A good friend of mine recently did a survey looking at aesthetic doctors in general. Mm-hmm. And she asked them, what are your views on people of color? Do you think people of color are interested in these treatments? Do you think they need the treatment? And she started to look through the results of this. And one of the comments were that the person that answered the survey said they didn't believe that people of color wanted the treatment or had any aesthetic needs. So if you think that people of color have no aesthetic needs, why on earth would you invest in a device for that group? So it's just lack of knowledge, like not knowing that actually, if you look at from a financial point of view or from a market research point of view, Black women spend 9 times the amount on hair and beauty products than their Caucasian counterparts. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have that information, you would think, actually, why would I invest in this device? Nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to use it. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to have a machine that nobody uses. So I understand. I understand that person doesn't know. Some people don't know. You've heard that term, black don't crack. Total nonsense. Just total nonsense. Some people believe it. So some people believe it. Of course they do.
But this is what I'm saying.
You get lines and wrinkles and skin sallows and fades.
I feel like though that it's very naive, or it's just very lazy to assume that. Do you know what I mean? I think it's laziness. I feel like it should be part of your job for market research to go and actually research all sectors, all different skin types. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For me, when I was reading all of this,
absolutely,
I was like, this just seems very lazy. Like, if you're going to have a product, get out there and test it and speak to people and really investigate it rather than just kind of sitting back on your laurels. And I think it's probably, as you're saying, it starts with the education side of things, because if people aren't being represented from when somebody goes to a textbook and they're studying aesthetic medicine and they get a book and there is no person of colour really kind of reflected in that book, and it is mostly Caucasian people, well then to go beyond that, as you said, does feel like you're going the extra mile. But it shouldn't feel like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It is lazy, but people do what they know. People sit within the comfort they know until you know better. And that's the point. I think that's why the Black Lives Matter movement has really been so dramatic now, because I think a lot of people are at that level of consciousness where they've seen things here or there that they've just thought that's just not quite right. And I think that's why we've had this collaborative, all different ethnicities, all different ages saying that something is wrong, something is really wrong here that we need to look at and try and fix. So I think this is why the movement it's been there before. I've heard of Black Lives Matter before, but never like this.
So do you feel genuinely then like it really is, we have an opportunity here where we can genuinely change things because it's gathered such momentum?
I completely do. When George Floyd died, there was this gut-wrenching thing that happened. And it's interesting because I don't know George Floyd. I don't live in America. we don't have guns in the UK, but it still had this visceral impact, and on so many different people of all different colors, that this is when the system is so broken that a normal, regular person can get killed. Like this is crazy. And I think the reason why it affected me, I think, was because in the UK, it's not the same as in the US, but there are all these little things that happen that you look away from it, you pretend it doesn't happen. I'm a super positive person. I'm really optimistic. I'll give it any other excuse than it's anything that could possibly be to do with me. So I'll wash it away. But then all those little things stick. And when you look back, you say, a lot of these things shouldn't happen. You should be able to have case studies in all different skin tones. You should be able to go to a conference and see representation of all the skin tones that we have in the UK. You should be able to even open a little baby's book and see a Rapunzel or a Cinderella, and even at that age to have images of beauty that look and feel like you. So, these things should be there, and ask the question, why aren't they there? What's stopping it? Why don't we have these things? And I think those sorts of conversations are what have been happening. And I've had a lot of amazing conversations about this, just to see, in so many different areas of life, in this area, why is it not happening? What can I do to affect change in this area?
And speaking of that, like in terms of change in your particular area, how I would, totally agree with you that you have to kind of have representation on the the people that are educating as well. So you've got to see different people who are giving the lectures, not just sitting kind of being schooled, but who is giving the lecture, who is in the room, who's practicing, it has to be across the board, and to inspire young people as well, and to normalise it, and to inspire people across the board from any different background. It has to. We have to keep challenging, and we have to keep having these conversations, and just kind of go, oh, hold on a minute, hold on, let's just not. It kind of, it's like, it is, isn't it? It's like putting your hand up and going, stop. Okay, let's just address
Absolutely.
this. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be hugely aggressive. It can be just a, hold on, let's just check ourselves. Let's just kind of, are we doing the right thing? Are we having the right conversations? And making sure that we're taking responsibility and accountability as well. That's something that has really, over the last few months, obviously since George Floyd died, it's having that accountability. I've had many conversations with my friends of going, how many times have I let things slip by me? How many times have I not called somebody out on something and thought, hold on a minute, that's not right, but I've shut my mouth just for a quiet life in that moment in time. And now I'm far less likely to do that. Again, I don't need to get into a heated argument with somebody, but I could just hold my hand up and just go, that's not right. I'm sorry. I don't want to entertain that conversation.
And I think that is a great start. I think that is so important, that even if it just means that we're checking ourselves and we're checking our friends and we're changing the tone of the conversation, I think that's so important. And I've been thinking about it, and then I was talking about it, and I put up the black square, and I thought to myself, what can I do? How can I affect change in my industry more than I'm doing? And I had some conversations with some of my peers and said, why is it that in aesthetics there are so few Black faces? Why is it? I know what my personal struggles have been, and we sat down and a few others talked about what their struggles have been and issues that they've had, and glass ceilings and doors that seem to be closed to them. And we decided to do something about it. And I've recently set up with 3 other doctors, or 2 doctors and an esthetician, the Black Aesthetic Advisory Board, to start having these conversations with people who can actually affect change. So having it with the companies, asking questions like, who's in the boardroom? Who are your reps? Do you have any Black reps? Do you have anybody who's Black in your boardroom? Why can't this product be used on Black skin? Can you explain to me why? And often that why can't the product be used on black skin is exactly as you've said. Oh, we just never tested it. And then said, well, would you consider testing it? We have lots of patients who really want this. We have lots of customers and clients who really want to have this treatment. And theoretically, physiologically, there's actually no reason why it can't, because we use it all the time on black skin.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, really? I said, yes, we have these amazing case studies. Have a look. It really works. And your product can be actually sold safely to black skin. It's worth you doing it, not just because it's the right thing to do. And it's not an altruistic act. It makes sense. This is why if you're inclusive, it's not an altruistic act. It actually financially helps you as well as helping other people. So I think that's one thing that I've done to try and affect change in aesthetics.
Because I mean, you have experienced times where you've had probably systemic racism directed at you, whether it be like you've walked into a room and somebody's assumed you're the junior. And I mean, again, you've said you're a very positive person, but have you turned a blind eye at that? Have you, did you confront that, or did you just kind of take it on the chin and then feel really uncomfortable and want to speak out? I mean, how did you feel?
So that's happened to me more times than I can count. People often say, oh, you look too young to have done what you do. And I do look young. So that
you do.
I do look young. But a lot of the thanks. But a lot of the time, it's been slightly more than that. The tallest Caucasian male has been assumed to be the consultant, for example, and he turns out to be the most junior member of the team. He is the FY1. I'm the consultant. There are 6 other people. You've had that when you're walking around seeing patients, and at the end of the consultation, where I've done all the assessment, I've told everybody the plan. The person turns around and says, "Thank you so much, doctor," to somebody else. Like, huh? And he's looking sheepishly and saying, "She's the consultant. She's the consultant." And he's like, yes, "Thank you so much, doctor." So in that moment, there's a couple things that happen there. So it's a real cringe moment, but it's also a doctor-patient relationship. It's not, all I can do there is to say, I am the consultant and this is your plan, just to reiterate the plan so that they do know the person that's giving the information about their health. Or in aesthetics, it's slightly different because it's my business, so I'm the only face. But in the hospital, it's there's a whole team of people, and your biases will dictate who you assume is the most senior. So I think that's really interesting. I think it's a really interesting experiment to even do for yourself, and anybody listening, that when your doctor comes up, who do you assume is the most senior? Even when you're in Sainsbury's, who do you assume is the most senior? And just to check your biases, because the truth is, everybody, irrespective of color, has biases. We all do. I have biases. We all have our biases. And so it's really important to start checking and listening to what those biases are and what they're saying. And then you can respond. Once you know what they are, you can respond.
I agree with you completely. And I think it starts with education. We've just got to make it much more fair and equal, and in schools it has to start across the board. We have to start very young, and we have to start seeing different people all in literature, in magazines, online, we have to start seeing people of colour, black people. We have to start seeing more people. It has to start very early on. I think we need to see different people early on. We need to be taught so much more about so many different people's histories. We at the minute, it just feels like there's so much we don't know. And obviously with the momentum of the Black Lives Matter movement and with what happened to George Floyd, which was just horrendous, it's been amazing actually how much it's galvanised people to kind of go and do their own research and look at education and things like, statues or people that have got plaques on walls that have been there, that have been celebrated for years upon years, and we've probably walked past them, not even known actually what was on the wall. And then it's so much better now that questions are being asked and people are going, hold on a minute, again, it's that putting your hand up. And we have to keep doing that, and we have to, especially with young children, keep talking to them and keep educating them.
I completely agree. You know, I went to Bristol. I never knew what those statues were. I walked past those statues. I had no clue who they were. They're just monuments. It didn't affect me in any way, but I didn't realize that, you know, we were celebrating people who were not great. And I agree. It really does start. It starts in homes, the conversations that you have with your children. You know, talking about kindness and explaining that this is what kindness is to everybody, and treating everybody equally, but also letting them know who everybody is. Because I think we can get into our minds, or we can accidentally, inadvertently, kind of give the messaging to children that everybody is this group, this narrow group of people that look and sound like us. And then there's the other. So we're very kind and nice to those people who are like our friends and our family. And then there's the other who somehow is outside that group. And it's really little things like walking down the street and seeing a person of color or a black person and clinging your child that bit closer. That's messaging. That means I should be afraid of that person, you know, and as opposed to just saying hello, walking on and smiling. And, you know, your children pick up these little things. And I think it's really important that we are really aware of our own biases and aware of the things that have hurt us in the past and the things that we've seen, so that we don't inadvertently give negative messaging to our children. And then also, you know, share things with them. You know, so share different books. You know, my children look at books of Caucasian children, of Indian children, of African children, and so that we know that we're kind to all these types of people. So if everybody did that, their children would have the messaging from a really young age that we are a human race. We're not different races. We're a human race, and we're kind to everybody. And then that filters up into your teenage years, looking at magazines and Cosmo and Marie Claire and all these teenage magazines, and feeling confident in that space, in that awkward, terrible 15-year-old space, and seeing people that look like you. And then it filters again into doctors when you meet patients who you don't have the skill set to treat. And that can be okay. You know, you see a patient, you have a doctor who's treating a black patient and they don't have the skill set to be open with that patient and use language like, you know, I don't have the right laser. I'm really sorry that I don't have the right laser to treat you safely, but here's a clinic that does. As opposed to, you have hard skin. Your skin is difficult to treat. My laser will burn you. So you know, that sort of language. It's done through kindness. So it's you know, not all doctors have the skill set to treat everything. It's normal for doctors to refer somewhere else. So that can also be okay. That can be okay. So I think it's just changing the notions and the language as well.
I definitely think that there is an element of that, but I do also think that in teaching, it should just become compulsory for me. I just find it uncomfortable that, you know, it
completely.
Yeah, it should be completely compulsory that a doctor or, you know, somebody in your field in particular just should have to look at all different skin types. I'm getting really cross about it because I'm like, it's very frustrating. And do you know what I mean?
No.
Because I think that if I'm going to a clinic and it's a skin clinic or an aesthetic clinic, it should be a given that all different skins should be able to be catered for. Do you know what I mean? And this is why I think, you know, what you're doing with, you know, trying to really make change and have those conversations and challenge businesses and challenge, you know, people who are making the products and the people who are educating as well, the governing bodies, because it's them really that really need to step up and go, hold on a minute, we need a whole relook at what we teach. Because otherwise, there's going to be so many people out there that are just not being catered for and represented. And again, even in magazines, you know, I know that we're trying, or the industry, like the media industry, is actively working towards change in terms of representation across fashion campaigns, beauty campaigns, so to speak. But it's not enough. There needs to be so much more done for it to be an equal footing, really.
No, I agree. I agree. You know, for someone to call themselves the skin expert, and then only be able to treat, less than 50% of skin types. How is that a skin expert? You should be able, if you're going to say, I'm a skin expert, this is my thing. It should be a given that you can treat all skin types. But that is just not the reality of where we are right now. It's not.
How do we get there, Dr. Ejikeme? How do we get there? Because we need to. So what more should we all be doing?
So I think in terms of thinking about beauty and in aesthetics, I think there's two things that need to happen. One is education, and the second is representation. So from an educational standpoint, we do have, in aesthetics, there are now multiple universities that have aesthetic medicine programs. And in those aesthetic programs, I don't think there should be a separate little syllabus on treating skin of color. I think it should be throughout the syllabus. It should be, we're doing whatever treatment we're doing. How do we treat each of the different skin types? That would make you an expert. That's how you'd be excellent. So that's education. And then once you've got the tools, that doctor, nurse, practitioner, esthetician will then go into the world and be able to deliver a much better service. So that's the education element. The representation element is looking at the teachers, making sure that the teachers are diverse, making sure that the lecturers in aesthetic conferences are diverse, and then the key opinion leaders are diverse. So, and even in the products, if the people who are making the products, if they include a diverse board, then you are much more likely to say, you know what, this product can only treat half the skin types. How can we include more skin types? What would happen? What would need to happen for us to include more skin types? I think just having that conversation at a board level means that the work will be done. And once the work is done, from a financial point of view, the company would say, it's ridiculous that we're only treating half the population. If we do X, Y, and Z, we'll be able to treat all the population, because it's not that different. The tweaks that you have to make are so minor, it boggles my mind why everybody doesn't just take that extra step.
Where do you start with those conversations? Is it certain governing bodies? Is it Parliament? Where do you start that change from?
So I think the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement have started these conversations, the conversation that even we're having now.
Yeah.
And from my standpoint, the Black Aesthetic Advisory Board, what I plan to do with that, and the group of us plan to do with that, is then to go to the highest person that can make the change. I actually, in aesthetics, I don't think it's at a parliamentary level, because of a syllabus, a curriculum in a master's program is run by the university. It's to go to the university and say, you know what, these are some suggested changes because of your students need this to be able to practice efficiently. Just saying that means that they'll look at it and say, oh wow, we've made a mistake. And they will change it because they're incentivized to. Now, it won't happen overnight, but they're incentivized to, because you've highlighted an issue and you've seen that people believe it's important. So I think from an educational standpoint, that's where it starts. And then going to the conferences and saying, you need to have more diverse lecturers. And here are some great lecturers. Here are some great lecturers that have great case studies in lots of different skin types. Would you consider this group as well? Because a lot of the time, it's not malicious. I don't believe it's malicious. I believe it's just unconscious biases. You pick the people you've always picked, and they treat the people they've always treated. And then just by highlighting it to them, say, look at, you've now got 25 or 50 different lectures. Actually look at what we're talking about. We're talking about the same types of people. Do you think maybe we should talk about some other people? And just by highlighting it, they'll say, most of the time, I actually didn't really notice. That's the response I'm getting. I didn't really notice. And then you provide the solution by saying, here are some great people in the industry who do this. Have a look at their work. Evaluate if they're good enough. And the answer is invariably they are good enough. They've just been overlooked.
Exactly. And for me, I come back to the laziness thing. It's just easy to just go with what you know instead of actually shaking it all up and going, hold on a minute, we need to really look at ourselves and we need to reassess. And I think you know, everything that you're doing is absolutely amazing, and I really, really hope that all the work that you're doing is really going to bring change, because it's desperately needed. And so for me, I really hope that it's just the tip of the iceberg of making those changes and getting those universities to change the syllabus, and to, you know, the people that are leading the conferences change it up. Because it does need to happen. You know, we've got an opportunity now, real opportunity for change. We've got so many people talking, so many people having important conversations. We can't afford to lose momentum now. We have to really keep going with it, don't we?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you so much for all of your time tonight. It's been absolutely amazing to chat to you, Dr. Ejikeme. It's been brilliant.
Oh, I've really enjoyed it. It's been so nice chatting to you, Natalie. It's been really, really good.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, we have run out of time for today, but it's been, again, so fascinating, and I'm so thrilled that we've been able to kind of have these kind of conversations, and I really hope you guys at home have enjoyed the conversation as well. Thank you so much for tuning in at home. I hope you've enjoyed your time with us. Don't forget, if you want to catch up with any of our previous podcast episodes, you can do so at the In Conversation page of our website, or by subscribing to any of our podcast channels and YouTube. Do leave us your rates and reviews, as we love hearing your feedback. And if you're in need of any fashion and beauty fixes, you can also check out our regular fashion, wellbeing and lifestyle content at www.thecapsule.co.uk, or by visiting our Instagram page. I will be back next week with another very special guest, but today all that's left for us to say is goodbye. So it's goodbye from Dr. Ejikeme.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
And goodbye from me.